Hello calligraphers, and welcome to this, number 4 of my Calligraphy Beginners series of YouTube tutorials. When you're starting out, there can be a few things that can really trip you up. In this video, I'm going to deal with common calligraphy problems. Let's solve 10 of the most common problems. Number 1. Your nib just won't work. Picking the right nib for when you're beginning is crucial. You need a nice, big, solid pointed nib. I'd recommend a lead at 30, a lead at 256, a Nico G or a Zebra G. Leave those flexible nibs for when you've gained a bit more experience. Number 2, your pen holder keeps splitting. Now this is caused, if your pen holder is wood, by leaving your pen holder to soak like this in some water. This is a real no-no. Firstly, you cause that split, but secondly, the casing inside there and possibly your nib will rust. I recommend just getting a cloth, wiping the excess ink off your nib like that. You can dip just the first part of the nib in water and that will do, that's clean enough. Number 3, your writing feels scratchy. Now this requires making sure you're in the right position. You want your arm to be at a right angle with the bottom of your paper so that your tines hit the paper equally and that downward motion is a smooth one, that should glide. Make sure that your vent, the little hole in the nib, is pointing directly up at the ceiling because this will mean that your tines aren't twisted. Number 4, you're not getting any contrast between your thick and thin. Everything's thick. This could be caused by the nib picking up paper fibres that sit on the tip. Simply remove them with your fingers or a bit of water and wipe them away. It could also be that your ink has dehydrated and it's too thick. Add a drop of water, mix it in and test it. If it's still too thick, a drop more, test again. Alternatively, you can use a drop or two of Oxgall, the smallest amount into your ink. This will really help with the flow. Number 5, the ink keeps bleeding into the paper. I deal with this in more detail in my video about ink problems. You can click the link up there, but the very simple answer is to thicken the ink. And you can do that by adding a drop or two of gum arabic. You can buy gum arabic as a liquid or powder form and just pop a little bit into your ink, mix it thoroughly, and that will really help with the flow of your ink. Number 6, my calligraphy is a bit wobbly. Oddly, when we're trying to control the pen, we tend to grip it as tightly as we can. If you're getting a wobble or a tremor, loosen your grip so the nib barely touches the surface of the page. You're just guiding. This will reduce those wobbles. 7, the ink only works on a downstroke. When a letter begins with an upstroke, it can sometimes be difficult to get the ink to start. A little bounce on the spot or a touch on a damp cloth will help get the ink to start and flow. Number 8, the ink won't stay on the nib at all. This could be because you haven't removed the protective glaze that all new nibs come with. This glaze will repel ink, so it has to be removed. You only need to do it the first time you use the nib. You can hold it over a flame as if you're sterilising a needle, or rub some toothpaste on it and wipe it off, and then you're good to go. Number 9, You're always smudging your work. Particularly for left-handers, this can be a real problem. What I recommend is you take a piece of scrap paper and have it under your hand. If you're left-handed, this might also help because it will prompt you to keep your hand underneath your calligraphy. Inks can take a while to dry, so take care and put your work out of harm's reach and curious fingers. And finally, number 10. The nib keeps catching on the paper and flicking ink on your work. This is probably caused by your paper having too much texture or too loose a weave. Try something called gum sandrack. It comes as gum crystals, but we want the powder of that. So I make a little fabric pouch and then I'm able to crunch it and dab my paper, brush off the excess with a clean paintbrush, and there you've got a smooth texture to work on. So I hope I've helped you with those niggling issues. All the products I've mentioned are available on my Amazon shop. The link is in the description. And I will look forward to seeing you next time to make beautiful calligraphy. Bye!